everybody, my name's Louisa. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to discuss colors. We're going to discuss how to coordinate beads so that it's aesthetically pleasing. I don't know about you, but there are times when I'll sit down and look at my beads, and I have a huge collection of beads, and I'll be completely stumped as to what to do. And the one tool that I swear by that really helps me is the color wheel. So we're going to discuss the color wheel, how to use it, how to put beads together, and hopefully you'll get a little bit of knowledge and some tips on how to work with something when you have no plan and when you have no idea what to do. So anyway, let's go ahead and get the color wheel and we'll discuss it. All right, so here's a color wheel. And I think, deciding which colors to use is one of the most important parts of a project. I think that if you don't have the correct color combinations, you're not going to end up with a very coordinated piece. And so choosing the right colors and choosing the colors that coordinate well with each other is critical in my opinion. And this is a color wheel. This is one of the tools I use. I mean, there are times when I do pick the beads, just eyeballing it, but there are also some times when I am completely stumped and I have no idea where to start and how to coordinate. So the one that I like to use, the color wheel that I like to use, is this one. It's called the Rainbow Pick, Point, and Match Color Selector. And I like this one because not only does it give you the color options and how to coordinate them, but it also gives you these little windows that allows you to place the beads underneath there to match exactly, not exactly, but to match the colors of the wheel. So let me give you an example. So for instance, say I have this earring right here and I want to see what color coordinates with this bead right here. I would take my wheel and I would place it underneath, and I'd place it underneath the windows and try to find a color that matches as close as I can to the color that I see on the bead. And as you can see, it looks like this color is probably the best match. And one thing to note that each of the 12 colors, there are 12 colors in this color selector, each one includes numbered values within. I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring it up close so you can see that. So the numbered values range from pastels to some jewel colors, and those are important to note because you have to match, when you're going to coordinate colors, you have to match the correct value. So for instance, if you choose this color here, which is a number 2 value, and you go across to its complementary color, you need to make sure, let me just line it up so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm pointing, there are 2 black arrows here. These are the complementary colors across from each other. So the starting color is the one with the little star on it. I don't know if you can see that. And across from that, it's this complementary group of colors. So say for instance, I'm choosing number 2 in this range of colors, then across here, I have to choose number 2 in this range of colors as well in order for it to be aesthetically pleasing. So the values need to match. Now this is not set in stone. Obviously, you can choose any value you want, and I see that happening all the time, but it just helps to, have it be more aesthetically pleasing if you do it like that. So in other words, if you want your piece to have colors that are aesthetically pleasing and perfectly coordinated, you need to do 2 things. You need to pick a color that coordinates and a value as closely matched as you can. You're not going to always be able to match the color and the value because obviously beads come in all kinds of colors and values, but if you can do that, you're going to be guaranteed a very aesthetically pleasing piece of jewelry. So the way developers created this wheel was not by chance. They didn't get a bunch of colors and just threw them on a wheel. It's actually based on the order in which colors appear in the spectrum of light, from the shortest wavelength to the longest, if that makes any sense. It would be the same kind of thing that you would see in a rainbow, for instance. All right, so let's just say you want a 3-color combination piece. You've decided you want 3 different kinds of beads, 3 different colored beads. So now if you look on the wheel here, you've got this triangle, the red one, which is a perfect triangle, and then you've got this other orange colored triangle. I don't know if you can see that. You can choose either one. So if you choose the red triangle, this one right here, your combination would be blue, yellow, and red, for instance. It depends on where you point your initial star. I don't know if you can see that little star. That's your starting color. So say, for instance, your starting color is this teal color. Then your other 2 coordinating colors would be this orangey, yellowish color and this violet color over here. So, and again, you would choose the values that correspond. So if you have value number 3, for instance, up here, then you need to have value number 3 on this one and also value number 3 on that one. And again, it's not a rule, it's just a guide. So, you know, but if you can stick within these color families, you're good to go. So say, for instance, you had this value here, but you have lighter colored beads in this value, that would be perfectly fine. It would not be the ideal, but it would still coordinate perfectly well. Same thing with this orange triangle. Let's turn it around. This is where the starting color would be. So say the starting color is this orangey, reddish color right here, value number 4. Then the other 2 coordinating colors would be this one and this one. Each one is value number 4, this little wedge right there, okay? And so again, you would get your beads and you would put them underneath the window and try to match them as closely as you can. Say, for instance, you have a bead that's not any one of these colors. For example, something that's a little bit more in the gray tones. You can still associate the color on the wheel with that gray tone. And then, you know, you can still coordinate other colors that would be, you know, within the coordinating groups of colors here. So even, you know, even if it's a bead that's got grayish tones or whatever, you can still do it. It's not as easy and it's not the ideal, but if you can remember that your combination will be most successful with all the colors in your wheel, what it's recommending, then, you know, just try to match them the best way you can, and still go with the recommendations even though the color may be a little bit grayed out. Knowing the terminology in color selection is also important. So colors that are across from each other, like this one here, the black arrows with the, you know, that would be the starting color, and then this would be the complementary color. This is a complementary arrangement of colors. And the primary color will always be opposite a secondary color. So that would be the name of this selection, complementary. Then you have something called a triad. So the three that I was showing you before, the 3 colors that are opposite, that are equal spacing from each other, I think they're like 4 colors, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. They're like 4 colors away from each other on the wheel. That would be considered a triad. And, you know, combining every 4th color on the wheel forms the balanced 3-color combination. Then we have the split complementary, the one that I was showing you earlier. So here's the starting color, and then you've got the 2 other complementary colors across from each, not exactly across, but on the other side of the wheel. So this is called a split complementary. So those are the most common ones, and then we have other combinations. If you can see on the wheel, we have a rectangle, the green colored rectangle right here, and we also have a square. So it is possible to get a combination of colors, you know, 4 colors. So if you want, for instance, 4 colors and you use the green rectangle, then you would choose this violet color, this orangey color, this green, and this bluish color over here. Same thing with the purple square. So let's say you want to use 4 colors and your starting color is this blue color here. The other 3 complementary colors would be this green, this reddish tone, and this orangey tone. So yeah, so I believe that's called a triad or a tetrad, a rectangle tetrad or a square tetrad. Then the other type of color that is actually one of my favorites is called the analogous colors. And that means you're going to use 3 to 5 colors adjacent to each other. So say for instance your starting color is this violet over here, then you could use these other 2 to the right and these other 2 to the left to complement. Now if you deviate any further than 2 colors from your starting color, then it becomes a little bit too busy and too distracting and not aesthetically pleasing at all. So it's important to remember that. So if you're going to have colors that are adjacent to each other, it's best to just go one over instead of 2 or 3. So you would have this violet color, then this purple, and then this red. This would be the best combination if you're not gonna follow the complementary color scheme. The other color that I really love, and you can't go wrong with this one, is the monochromatic colors. So for instance, the monochromatic would be all of the colors that it's the same color but just different values. So for instance, in this red family right here, you can see that it ranges from the very light pastels to the jewel tones to the darker version. So if you have a piece of jewelry that is monochromatic, you can't go wrong with that. Let me show you an example. So here I have a necklace that I made using some beautiful square agate beads, and if you can see, I have basically 2 colors here. I've got this reddish brownish bead, and then I've got this light bead right next to it. So let's go ahead and try to match it. So for instance, here's a perfect match for the square bead. As you can see, it's within this family. The lighter bead, is pretty close to this light value here. Not exactly the same because it's a little bit gray tone, but it's pretty close. So if you can, stick to monochromatic colors, then you can't go wrong. Here's another example. So within that same family, here's my starting color, this one right here. If I come down the beads, I can see there's other color combinations here that are relatively close. I mean, I could switch over to this family, but see, this is that idea about the analogous. So I can go over one, and so now I have some I have a hard time with this word, analogous colors along with my primary main color here. So that works as well. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see on a computer screen, but this is my starting color right here, and I can stick to monochromatic, which I kind of have a little bit with this light colored bead, but then these other beads, these other colors are switching over to the one next to it, the color family next to it, which is the analogous arrangement. All right, so here's a beautiful leather wrap bracelet that I made not too long ago, and it's got a little druzy focal right here, which is really beautiful. And let me just show you, this is a perfect example of complementary colors. So if I take my wheel and I try to match that druzy, I can see that it's in this family right here. So are these beads here, these Chinese crystals that you see right there. They're in the same family, okay? It's like a bluish violet tone. Across from that, the complementary are these colors here, these mustard yellowish colors. So I went ahead and selected beads that are in that family. And so that is the most, aesthetically pleasing, balanced, and harmonious way to match colors. Just by going with complementary. Complementary is a really good method to use when you're matching colors, because you can't go wrong, and they always go really well with each other. So I don't know if you can see the values, but let me talk about the values within each color range. So these blues, when I try to match the crystals, I can see that it's closer to this value here, which is value number 7. So the complementary, let me just turn the wheel so you can see how to do this. Here's the starting color, and then the complementary across from that is this family right here, this mustard yellowish family of colors. But it's not, I'm not, you know, seven, I could say that these beads are in the 7 value, but they could be 6 as well. But, you know, like I said before, it really, you don't have to follow the rules exactly. As long as you're within that family of colors, you're going to be safe. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. So for instance, this number 7 here doesn't have to, you don't have to have beads that coordinate perfectly with the number 7 up here. It can be 1 or 2 values off. It could even be, you know, adjacent, the analogous family. So like I said, you know, this wheel is just a tool that gives you some guidance. It doesn't dictate, okay, you gotta do this color combination, you have to do it. No, it just gives you some guidance so that, you know, that you have a path, and it doesn't have to be exact, but it can be close. Beads, beads, and more beads. So here's a bunch of 4mm. I have tons of them. I used to have a subscription to the dollar bead box, and I acquired quite a few beads from that subscription. And never did anything with them. So I have a huge collection. These are just the 4mm, but I also have 6mm, I have 3mm, I have rounds, I have bicones. So anyway, these are the rounds, the 4mm rounds. As you can see, there's quite a few, and it's not all of them. This is just, I just kind of reached into my box and grabbed a handful. And you know, say you're starting from scratch. Say you're sitting down looking at your beads and thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And you decide, you have to decide first of all how many colors you want. So say for instance you want to do, say, 3 colors. You get your wheel out, you pick a color, a starting point. So, you know, something that you really like, that you think is pleasing, and you know, you're getting a little bit of inspiration just by looking at the color. Say for instance, let's just take this red since it's right here on top. Okay, you take your beads and you try to match them on the wheel. I'm doing 3 colors, so here's my triangle, the first one, and then here's the red triangle, and I'm going to try to match the color of these beads. And right away I can see that it's this family right here, and it's value number 5 right here. Let me just point with my tool here. How do you like my pen? It's got a little gem on the on the end of it. So it's this color right here. Okay, so now I need to find a bead that's going to be, I'm going to choose, let's see, I'm going to choose the red triangle. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to choose this. Here's my value right here. I'm going to choose another one that's in this color family, and if I were to go with the same value, it would be this one here. Okay, and then actually, wait a minute, I'm sorry, this is value number 5. This is value number 5. The numbers are so tiny I can barely see them. This is number 5. Number 5 in the blue tones is this one right here. And then the third color would be in this group right here. And number 5 is this color right here. So then I would try to look for coordinating colors. So here's my red. I'll put that one aside. Now I need a blue that's in the same value, the number 5 value. So in looking at my beads, let's see. Like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be exact. It can be somewhat within the range. Let's see, not that one. Okay, so I'm not able to find one that's exactly in the same range, or the same value, I should say, but this one's pretty close. I don't know if you can see this. Let me stick it under the window. So this one's pretty close. It's in the same kind of family. It has a little bit of purple in it, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that because I can definitely see the blue. So this color wheel is telling me that the red that I chose before and this blue coordinates well with each other. So let's take a look. So now I'm going to put the beads together, and I'm going to trust that the wheel is telling me the correct information. All right, so let me just put those 2 aside. Now I'm going to choose my third color, which is in this yellow family, and the number 5 value is this one right here. It's like a mustardy color. So right away I can see these gold tone beads are pretty close. They're not exactly, these are more number 6 value, but you know, they're in the family. So according to the wheel, these 3 colors coordinate well with each other. And I don't know if you can see that, but I think the wheel is right. So if I'm going to do a 3-colored bracelet, I will choose these 3 colors and trust that the wheel is giving me the correct information, and when it's finished, it should look aesthetically pleasing. So anyway, guys, I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope that you've gained some knowledge about, combining colors and what tool to use. The color wheel, you can't go wrong with it. This is a very, very useful tool. And like I said before, you don't have to go buy it. You can just eyeball it. Sometimes, there are people that have that natural gift where they can select colors and it looks beautiful. But sometimes even those people, have mental blocks, and maybe, they're not feeling creative for whatever reason on any particular date. And so when that happens, pull out your color wheel and, hopefully you'll get it right. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't done it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again. See you soon. Bye.